This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we doing today on this rainy Friday? Golly, rainy Friday in West Alabama. So if you are in the area, stay safe. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for watching us. The Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, right here on the Bama Central YouTube channel, or on my own social media machines at Joe Gaither 6. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or my own social media machine right there on YouTube. And of course, you can subscribe, rate, and review the show if you want to join us on your favorite podcast platform: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. The Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We're going to have a lot of fun today. You could jump in. If you're watching us on the show, you see our friends Mason Woods and our friend Will Miller. We haven't heard from Will Miller in quite some time. We're going to add him into the show today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with Will. You follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. You follow Will Miller at RealWBMiller. Will Miller getting ready for Alabama baseball season. We're not going to talk about Alabama baseball right here. I want to tell you, you got to come back next week to All Things Bama, because it's going to be a full Alabama baseball preview between Mason and Will Miller. I don't want to steal that content. That's going to be Mason and Will's space next week. So make sure you check out the All Things Bama podcast as they preview the 2025 Alabama baseball season. With that, and real quick, Will, without spoiling the entire content, will Alabama baseball be better this year?
Yes, I believe so. Adding some of that depth back, the new pieces are really exciting. So I think there's a lot to look forward to.
All right. Well, I am looking forward to hearing that episode between you and Mason Woods, doing a deep dive on the baseball team. I know Pierce Quick, big old arm coming out, trying to get healthy again.
Just Riley.
Other than that, I am
Pierce
a baseball
Pierce
newbie.
is the big brother.
Riley, you're right. Okay, see, there you go. That's why Will is the expert, and I am just the noob following Will's coverage at Real WB Miller on the Twitter machine. Mason? Oh, man, I didn't turn to you. How are you today? Thanks for being here. It's wet out there.
Yeah, a little bit of a gross day. I'm doing all right, though. Excited to get into some stuff today. I think we have some fun things to talk about. You hit me with the late night DM on Twitter and just said tomorrow's show, and I'm ready to go. So.
Why don't we start there? Because, okay, here's my Cam Newton hot take. We're starting with Cam Newton for anyone. I know everybody loves Joe Burrow 2019, and I know everybody absolutely despises Auburn to their very core. But to me, that's the greatest single season in college football history. Cam Newton. But Cam Newton goes out on his little social media machines, podcasting, just like we're doing here. Cam, want to do a home and home? We can talk about it.
Hey, come on.
And says,
if you can fit that hat through the door, we'll get you in,
The room's big enough. I think he can.
Tall ceilings in here.
Yeah, Derek made it really well. Oh, yeah, we are in the Derek Daniels State Farm Studios right here off McFarland Boulevard. Call Derek. Look, it's raining outside. Make sure you have the right auto insurance. 205-758-3391. All right, Cam Newton, wild take. He's talking. Look, everybody has to talk, and you got to fill the space with something. And he throws out an idea that I want to introduce to the show and get people talking about or asking about.
Put your tinfoil hats on.
Cam Newton, people were talking about, why did you hire, what is it, Brian Schottenheimer, Steve Schottenheimer, Mark Schottenheimer? It's Brian, right? Brian Schottenheimer gets hired by the Dallas Cowboys.
Not all smiles and glory holes around here.
Exactly. Everybody's like, what in the world? Who is that? Why are you doing this?
I cannot believe he said that.
Well, just as an off topic here, I did actually look into it. That is like an old prospector, like mining term. When you find a spot that has a lot of oil, it's a glory hole. So I get where Jerry's coming from. Being an ancient old man, he probably does know it in that context.
You think he was going for the double entendre?
I don't think Jerry can spell entendre.
Jerry, somebody say something.
What? Go ahead, Will.
I don't think Jerry could spell entendre.
No, I don't think so either. So he hires Brian Schottenheimer, and people are like, why are you doing this? Well, Cam Newton has a theory. You're good. Take you. Has a theory. Cam Newton thinks that the Dallas Cowboys are about to go on tank mode. Tank for Archie. Tank for Arch, and throw all kinds of fire Brian Schottenheimer and throw all kinds of money at one Nick Saban.
Just like real quick, how many jerseys would an Arch Manning
Dear
Cowboys draft? Like, how many jerseys would that sell his rookie? He would break every single record. You'd see them in every store across the country. I can't even imagine the amount of Cowboy fans that would come out of the woodwork to praise Arch Manning and talk about, oh, we've been here since the 90s. We've been fans our whole life. Oh, it would be painful.
All right. I'm just running this stuff. Okay, yes. So it only has to be a 1-year project. I saw somebody like, oh, Arch still has to be in school for a couple more years. No.
Mm-mm.
He was a freshman in 23, sophomore in 24. It's a 3-year eligibility. He starts next year for Texas, leads them to a national championship, and gets drafted number 1 by Dallas. Like,
Tennessee.
First, Will Miller. Will Archie Manning, I know it's Arch, will Arch have a good enough season to be drafted? Is he a good enough player to tank for?
Joe, I am going to needlessly complicate things with my answer because the media, I say,
He wouldn't be Will Miller without you.
I say as a professional journalist has, oh man, I can't even say the phrase I want to say on a public stream.
Yeah, you can.
But they are incredibly infatuated with overrating quarterbacks. So I think it's absolutely irrelevant what level of talent that Arch Manning has. He will still be regarded as a blue chip draft prospect and probably be drafted at one of those top picks. I mean, let's go through the years, gentlemen. We can name all sorts of names. You know, Daniel Jones is the low-hanging fruit. Mitch Trubisky is the low-hanging fruit. Sorry, Joe, old wounds. Many other examples. But it is really an incredible phenomenon that's persisted in college football to the point that if certain players played even 5 years after they did, they would have made millions of more dollars. And in some cases, like a guy like Jordan Lynch at Northern Illinois, had their literal lives changed by the media quarterback hype machine. You look at a guy like Arch Manning with the name value, with the brands he's been associated with, whether it be this Dallas Cowboys pie in the sky stuff, whether it be the Texas Longhorns, his whole family of royalty. I mean, it is the perfect storm for this phenomenon to take hold.
So, Mason, was how long into the 2025 season? How many weeks is it until Jerry Jones says, no, we're pivoting. Austin Mack, are all in. It's Austin Mack season. Bleep this kid Arch Manning. We're taking a pivot.
Well, I mean, now that they have a whole offseason worth of bulletin board material against Florida State, it's going to be week 1.
Mercy.
We got Austin Mack. He's about to go light the Seminoles on fire.
We should have started there.
Make
a note. We need to talk about that before we skip ahead, please. We definitely need to talk about that Joker. Okay, so whatever. We've seen teams tank before. I don't really even care about the Cowboys. That's not even what the part of the story that drew my attention. The part of the story that drew my attention was the Cowboys are going to throw a big bag, all kinds of money, a too much for you to refuse, make them an offer you can't refuse deal to Nick Saban.
I think that
Mason. Yeah, go ahead, Will.
I think that I've heard a lot of ridiculous things, as we all have in sports. This is among the most ridiculous, and Cam Newton could at least try to be original because this is not the first time something like this has been thrown around. But Jimmy Sexton probably feels pretty good about it. But aside from that, I don't see Nick Saban going back and coaching the NFL because point blank, I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it when, he was doing it in his 50s, and I don't think he would like it now. Furthermore, you'd have to pay him, probably.
Yeah, what would you have to pay him?
I would think you'd have to pay him at least like a top 3 salary annually in the NFL. Now, what we do know is Sean Payton has the second biggest, and he makes $18 million a year. Are they really willing to pay something like that?
I was thinking 20 was the number that came to my head.
I think that's probably about the ballpark range that you would have before it was even a conversation, and I don't think they would do it.
Because, Mason, you're making about, 10, 11, 12 the last couple of years here at Alabama, 10, 11, 12, 13.
How much is ESPN paying him right now?
I bet they're paying 20. Whatever they're paying him, he's worth every penny of it. But Jerry Jones, of course he's made of money. Of course, that's not the issue here. What do you think about the marriage between? Would Jerry Jones stay out of Nick Saban's hair? Would Nick Saban tell him to bleep off and let me run the team? And would that be successful?
Jerry Jones would be completely unable to take his hands off the wheel. It's been that way the entire time he's had the team. He has to have his hands at every single decision that is made, so that at the end of the day, if it's successful, he can say, "I was there to make that call."
Right.
And if it's unsuccessful, he can fire the coach that did make that call. This is Jerry Jones's MO. He does this. He has done this for decades. He cannot relinquish control of this team. He just has to have his greedy little fingers on everything that happens within Dallas.
Nick Saban, what would that have been? We're 1 year out. That's 2 years. He would have had a 2-year break. And he's what, 74? Nick Saban? Nick Saban, your age is 73. So, yeah, you're turning 74 this coming year. You'd be 75.
We just ridiculed the Raiders. No, Pete Carroll and Nick Saban, as far as like coaching resume goes, pretty comparable. Nick Saban, the most dominant college football coach of all time. Pete Carroll, one of, if not, I think the only coach to win a Super Bowl and a national championship.
Tom Landry as well.
There we go. We just ridiculed the Raiders relentlessly for hiring a 75-year-old Pete Carroll
that they're going to fire in a year and a half.
True. I don't understand why doing virtually the same thing with Nick Saban, because again, very similar coaching resumes there. That doesn't really even move the needle that much.
You know who I should have got on this show today? Ryan Fowler. Cowboys fan, Alabama fan. I bet you first he thought, I'm not listening to anything that Cam Newton ever says. And then it's, Cam Newton marries Nick Saban to my Cowboys? All right, we like that. I don't think this is ever going to happen. No. I don't think this is likely. I think first off, you got to nail the tank first, which is a challenge. Obviously, the Cowboys, not a good year this past year.
No, but you'll be getting Dak back.
I just don't have a lot of offensive weapons.
It's going to be hard to lose like 14 games with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. I know everybody like
the Browns
on
exist.
Dak, but he's still a good quarterback. He just doesn't get it done in the playoffs. He's still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, probably top 12.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose 14 games with him at under center.
If I didn't have Caleb Williams, I would like to have Dak Prescott on my team.
Sure. I would take him on the Titans in a heartbeat.
That would be look. You're
as
looking for a
opposed
QB,
to Will Levis, Mason. Your views might be being distorted here.
No, I'll take Dak, please. Just any semblance of somewhat consistent quarterback play, welcome home with open arms. I'd
like to say Will Levis, another product of this media quarterback inconceivable love affair.
He fell to the second round.
Well, that was a whole situation. That's going to be talked about for the
I got a friend, and I love you, Taylor, if you're watching. It was a mild Titans fan, very mild NFL fan. Just really loves the Tennessee Vols. Mm-hmm. He's crazy for that. Okay, and
Hendon Hooker.
Exactly. He is. You just know. Every time Will Levis gets brought up, and he goes, he mother bleeps the time. He just goes nuts. They could have had every fan in the state supporting the team. They just drafted Hendon Hooker. He's a much better quarterback than Will Levis. Oh, just draft Hendon Hooker. They spit in the face of all the fans in Tennessee by drafting Will Levis over.
I saw that so much.
And I'm like,
Hendon Hooker also, by the way, it's worth noting,
not playing, not good.
The Lions just signed Teddy Bridgewater to avoid having Hendon Hooker as their option if Jared Goff went down.
So, fun stuff
Ridiculous.
with the quarterbacks. Fun stuff with the quarterback stuff. Woo!
Back to the
I saw a tweet that said, if you need a quarterback this year, no, you don't.
Golly. Please.
How worried are you?
Please, I'm so scared.
Sam Darnold actually managed to beat the case, though, so maybe Will Levis in a few years. Sam Darnold was previously one of the top love children of this overrating quarterbacks.
But Sam Darnold actually had talent.
No, he didn't. He was a turnover factory.
Sure.
But his arm was the arm was there.
A lot of people have raw arms.
You saw it with Will
Luke
Levis.
Falk had a raw arm.
First 4 touchdowns his first game.
Okay. All right. So why don't we get back to Alabama a little
Nick
bit?
Saban is not going to the Cowboys.
Yeah, we want to make that clear.
Arch Manning could be. Who knows? But
I think Nick Saban has coached his last game.
I believe so.
I mean, does it suck to say that? Sure, but I think he's
Hear me
watch
out,
him.
though.
Watch him for all over the last 12 months, making a butt ton of money, has a smile from ear to ear almost all the time,
That
and
when
he's
Pat
at
McAfee
the
is
hottest
speaking.
events and biggest places. Go ahead, Will. I didn't hear you.
Except when Pat McAfee is speaking.
I think he loves Pat.
What about, the Jets fire Aaron Glenn next year? Hey, Bill, old time's sake, come on back to New York. And Bill says, I got a buddy that he can call a heck of a defense. He's got to do nothing else. I do think that would be a very attractive opportunity. I don't think he'd take it. But if Bill Belichick called Saban and just said, hey, I want you to do nothing but focus on defense. You ain't got to talk to nobody else. You got to do nothing.
Just be my DC
Just
in North Carolina.
Call some defense. If he goes to the
With the
NFL
Jets?
too.
Well, apparently after this job cycle, either Bill Belichick decided he didn't like the NFL or realized the NFL didn't like him or something.
It's the second one.
And so he went all. Go ahead.
It's the second one. I think it was The Athletic that put something out about it.
Yeah.
Like Bill kind of realized, I think especially after he didn't get that Falcons job, was probably a big flare up in the sky to him because everybody thought he was getting that job. And then he, I don't know that he was ever really considered, even though they interviewed him and did the due diligence. I think that's kind of what told Bill, okay, maybe I need to step off this at least for a little bit.
You saw the way that UNC set up his buyout, right?
Yes,
No,
I
I
did.
$10 million
I'm
to get
aware of
bought
that.
out within this year, $1 million after the first year.
Oh.
So I think he's wanting to get back to the league.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know that I would have done that for North Carolina.
But
Why
he
would you
probably
hire
told
one
them
guy?
this is what he wants, and this is the most relevant they'll ever be. So, your hands are kind of tied, respectfully, to
And he's
North
just going to
Carolina.
pass it right on to Steve.
You're right. It's fair. Steve walks right into nepotism. There's nothing that drives me crazier than nepotism in this world. No, that's not true. But it is one of the things that drives me crazy in this world.
Certainly.
Okay, let's keep it going. We got to move off this. We don't care about Cam Newton. Nick Saban not going to the Dallas Cowboys.
No, I don't think there's really, realistically, I think there's a very, very small number of opportunities that would get Nick Saban to get back in coaching.
Who is this joker, Mason? Who is this guy? James Williams. Are you a player or are you a child? James Williams. James Williams, a defensive lineman from Florida State, right?
Yes.
Florida.
He's a redshirt freshman?
I think you're a child. I think you might be a child. Yeah, you're. Oh no. Okay, James Williams is not a child. James Williams played for Nebraska and Iowa Central Community College. Oh my gosh, you have not even been there. This is going to be your first year at Florida State. This is going to be your first game at Florida State. We don't even know if you're playing or not, and you're already talking mess about the opponent. Okay, if you haven't seen it, now that I have the story, all the dominoes all in a way. WarChant.com is reporting an interview that they had with defensive end James Williams, who has transferred from Nebraska to Florida State, saying, "I'm here to dominate against Alabama." Okay, Mason, no comment, open to you. I'm here to dominate against Alabama.
Just, I understand that it's we've talked about it on this show. I think the kind of shift has happened where now it's kind of the cool thing to hate on Alabama and to talk about how Bama has fallen, they're not what they used to be, whatever. And I understand this is probably a little bit of him feeling a little more comfortable now in this kind of environment. He can say these kinds of things. But buddy, we're not that far removed from the last time Florida State played Alabama. And we all remember what happened.
Who was the quarterback that broke both his knees or whatever?
DeAndre Francois?
Thank you.
We all remember how that game went.
Well, who was it? Was it the athletic director or was it the president of the university that, like, a week before that game happened, went up on a stage somewhere and said, "I think we're going to beat Alabama pretty badly"? It was one of the two.
Just learn your lessons here.
I mean, if that wasn't bad enough, now you have that plus the entire offseason to sit on it and stew.
Right.
The entire program, 7 years that happened after that.
You haven't even had one snap of spring practice.
Oh, what are you doing? Mike Norvell, I mean, you got to Rein your boys in here.
Were they not 2-10 last year, or was it 3-11? Was it,
It was
3-9?
2-10.
I mean,
You can dominate anybody.
I look at that and have, okay, we'll write it off as a BS year, a pass. Everything fell apart after you didn't make the playoffs. But you still should not say anything. At Nebraska last year, as a sophomore, James Williams plays in 12 games. He makes 9 solo tackles, 5 assists, so a combined 14 total tackles. He did have 5 sacks. So my man's can rush the passer a little bit as a defensive lineman. He is listed at 6'6", 250 pounds.
Big man.
Played for Nebraska, spending 1 year at Iowa Central Community College, totaling 18 tackles and 7.5 tackles and 7 sacks for the Cornhuskers in 16 games. Set a career-high 5 tackles and 2 sacks against Rutgers in 2024. Also recorded 2 sacks at Purdue. Great. First-team All-State defensive lineman his senior year at Park Hill South, which is in Kansas City, Missouri. So great job.
But you enter that transfer portal. Florida State went 2-10 last year. Nobody else come calling. Nobody else came calling, Mr. Williams. You had to settle for Florida State. It's an awful lot of talk. I feel like maybe if you were ready to go dominate, you might have wound up at somewhere a little more upper echelon than what Florida State is.
I wish I could find. I wish I had
said more dominant.
Sure, it's just, it's just such a. I mean, we've seen this happen in sports. I don't know how.
Oh yes,
bulletin board stuff. Why would anyone ever do anything like this?
Yes.
Does nothing but feed your opponent.
Clout.
Give them more and more motivation, as if they weren't motivated already.
It's for clout.
It is for cloud, but I think I have more to this quote. Okay. Yeah, I do have more to this quote. Okay. As the Seminoles continue, this is from Tallahassee Democrat. As the Seminoles continue to go through the offseason conditioning program known as Tour of Duty and prepare for Alabama, Williams said his sole focus is continuing his adjustment to Florida and being ready to compete. He said he didn't come to FSU to be a recruiting win for the new staff, but to be an impact player for the Seminoles. Quote,
because he couldn't do it anywhere else.
I'm not just here to be a recruiting face for you guys. I'm here to dominate against Alabama. I want to make sure I'm not just good against Wake Forest. I'm ready for Clemson, Miami, and all those big names that we have, and Florida at the end of the year. End quote.
That certainly provides a lot more context to this.
Do you feel any better about the wisdom of his quote or the
Certainly.
lack thereof?
With the full quote, it's much less of a stupid thing to say. I think it paints the full picture of, hey, I'm here to play well against good teams. Anybody would say that.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for his sake that it's been plucked out like this, and now he's been probably posted up in the Malmore facility with his picture right beside it, and then that quote. I mean, maybe choose your words a little more carefully next time. I don't know. But no, I don't think that, given the full context, that's really any kind of a damning quote at all.
Will Miller, is the quote already up in the locker room at Alabama?
Has been.
Yeah, for the last 8 hours.
Yeah,
Who do
I
you think
definitely
put it up?
think that
The
this
coach?
coaching
You think a
staff
player
will be
went
looking
there?
to jump on anything.
Which staff member? Who was it? Not Coach DeBoer. Not Nick Sheridan. Let's go down the line.
Morgan.
Courtney's a
Even
decent.
Jason.
You know who
He
it
feels like
was?
he's pretty
It's
young.
Jamarcus Shepard.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Jamarcus Shepard or Mo Linguist are my picks. Hey, Kane. I can see Kane going that direction. I can see Coach Womack going that
It would
direction as
depend
well.
on whether Kane took the comments seriously.
Oh, I'm sure. It doesn't matter if they took it seriously. We're
Maybe
going to frame it as
Maybe it was
serious.
Kapilovic. He went up there and he was like, "Hey, this is directed at you boys, big
Oh,
uglies."
Defensive lineman said he's going to dominate you guys. What was it? Didn't we see an early line on that game, like 13 or something?
Yeah, I gotta see if I can find it now.
Hammer it. Hammer the Alabama on that. It's down in South. I mean, ooh. Will, the last time we talked about this game, I expressed concern because of Gus Malzahn and the way that he can run an offense utilizing Thomas Castellanos and being able to get that quarterback run going based off what we saw this past year. Do you have any concern? I mean, road game against an inferior opponent?
I don't know.
As quarterback run with an offensive coordinator that's beat your butt before?
It's a different system, though, Joe. It's Gus, admittedly, and talking of things that were painful to say about Nick Saban earlier in the show, let's get to another part of that here. Gus showed the ability to coach circles around Nick Saban. And he did. He did use that ability on several occasions. But this is totally different. This is a different defense, a different scheme. And, you know, it feels to me like it's a bit of a question mark. Sure, Gus could bring his strengths and it match up poorly, but we don't know. I think that in terms of the quarterback, you can make Thomas Castellanos quit. Make him go 3 and out twice, make him punt twice, watch him quit.
S-A-W-F.
I mean, that's just the reality. We saw the exit at Boston College. I liked Thomas Castellanos. I thought he was one of the most underrated.
I liked him
players.
until that move, Will. That's a weak move.
I liked him. I thought he was one of the most underrated players in the ACC. He brings a dual threat skill set that I think is stronger than a lot of guys, but you can make him tap out. I think that if you get to a point where it's, the second quarter with 11 minutes left in the first half and the Florida State offense has 35 total yards, you're not going to see the same Thomas Castellanos as the one that ran out of the tunnel. That is a factor in this game, in my opinion.
One Nakai Hill-Green earshot to Castellanos to basically zap the game.
Right, first play of the game. Basically what Danny Stutzman did to Jalen Milroe.
Danny! Oh, that's it. Do you think that Danny gave him a concussion?
Very likely, honestly. I mean,
I don't think he gave him a concussion. I do think he gave him a gut check. I don't think anybody thought that game was going to be what it was, including the players, and it showed.
Yeah, and when I rewatched it way back when, that really stood. The first play stood out to me massively because Danny Stutzman went face to face with Milroe and said,
It was a bone-crushing hit.
Yeah, and
I mean, normally that wouldn't get to you because, Danny Stutzman's just a dude. I mean, you'd expect him to do that to anybody regardless of, how bad his team was doing that season. But you have an off night sometimes. That was the off night of all off nights.
I guess that's the way we're going to describe that. Oh, yeah.
Joe, weren't you there?
Okay, guys. Well, I was there. It seemed more than an off night to me, but I don't really want to think about a night in November that was
still makes me sick.
It was awful. It was disgusting. Really, really disgusting. Really terrible. Okay, let's keep going here on a Friday. Done with the Florida State, done with the Nick Saban of the Cowboys. Let's talk about the weekend a little bit. Before we talk about Alabama's basketball game, we'll tell you about Derek Daniel. We are live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off of McFarland Boulevard. It's raining, but that's okay. We're still here, and Derek and his team are here as well. Red, Reese, and Victoria, they're upstairs. They'd love to take your phone call right now. 205-758-3391 for all your insurance needs. Home, life, auto insurance. Like we said, it is raining today. The traffic's going to be nuts. The drivers from all parts of the country come here, converge in Tuscaloosa, and it becomes a little bit of a crazy fest. So please make sure that you're prepared with the right auto insurance. Call Derek and his team. 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. Okay, let's keep the Alabama basketball season going on Saturday. The Crimson Tide take on the Georgia Bulldogs. 3 o'clock in Coleman Coliseum. Perfect time for you to get your butt into Coleman Coliseum. It's perfect tip-off time. It's not Saturday at 11 where you got to drive down early if you're from Birmingham or from parts unknown Alabama. 3 o'clock. It's perfect. You can get to town about 1, park, leisure on into Coleman Coliseum, and watch the Crimson Tide roll. Hopefully, Alabama has an 83.6% chance to win the game, according to the ESPN Analytics matchup predictor. The Georgia Bulldogs, 3-5 in the SEC so far this season, but they are feisty, in my opinion. I think that it's going to be, a game that Alabama should win. I mean, you absolutely should beat the Georgia Bulldogs. If you lose to Georgia at home, you got some real problems, I think. But there is a world that Georgia can win this game. So, Will Miller, we haven't had you on a long time. As we dive into the Georgia game, I want to throw to you and ask your assessment of the team so far this year. We spent a lot this week talking about the Mark Sears situation. I don't care about that anymore. What do you think about the season? You're about halfway. You're almost halfway. You're a little bit more than halfway in the SEC season. How you feel about the team, where it's standing, and what do they need to do tomorrow? What is the focus for tomorrow to beat the Bulldogs?
Well, I think this team has shown less energy in home games than road games. That's the first step. Obviously, Ole Miss game that was coming to a head in that game. Mason and I texted about it about 4 minutes to go, and he didn't seem too thrilled about it. The road games have really not daunted this team, and I think that's a big positive. I think the roster is gelling very well. A lot of new faces, a lot of things you weren't expecting to happen, like Latrell Wrightsel's injury, and then Houston Millette not really being able to step in and have a role. I think he'll be medical redshirted, but that's just one example. I think this team's in great shape. I think this team's in as good a shape as you could have hoped for them to be entering this point in time. Even with that Ole Miss loss, this team has the potential not to make that be an albatross. It kind of felt like it at the time, but I think that there's really a lot they've done well. They haven't shot the ball at as high of a clip as they did last season, but they've rebounded better. Though the last couple of games has been a bit wavy. They defend marginally better. I still don't think that's anything to write home about. But they're a really good basketball team. I think when they're playing at their 100% best, they're one of the 2 or 3 best basketball teams in the entire country. And, I mean, inconceivable 10 years ago. So I feel good about where they are.
Inconceivable. Another big scoring guard coming into Coleman Coliseum. Asa Newell, forward, guard, fresh, more slasher. Asa Newell. Mason Woods, will we have a healthier Darian Reed to slow down Georgia's leading scorer, Asa Newell, 15.2 points a game, 7 rebounds a game?
I certainly hope so. We talked about his performance last game and how he still kind of looked like he was maybe shaking the rust off a little bit. I would think given a few more days of practice under his belt, he can get back into the flow of things some and, just continue to feel healthier. So, when he's been healthy, he's been probably the best perimeter defender on the team.
Shoot, 6'11", this Joker. How about a Jaron Stevenson defensive day, Jaron? Sorry, Darian. I didn't want to throw you into that fire, I guess.
Jaron Stevenson, we'll take that. Well, I mean, same thing. Jaron, I think, has been great defensively. People kind of talk about him bad, but I think a lot of those people don't really watch the games.
What's the defensive side?
Yes, Jaron's been fantastic on the defensive end. I understand his 3-point shot has not really been there this year, but just let's let him keep cooking on the defensive end. He'll get his buckets.
I wrote the 3 things to watch for the Mississippi State game in advance of tip off, and on number 2.
Great job, Will. Where did you write that so people could read it?
That's on our website at BamaCentral.com, and so I put that. I put as number 2 on the 3 things. Can Alabama's defense contain Josh Hubbard? And they did not, in such a way that he had a career best scoring total, season best scoring total, blew it out of the water. So the same question applies to Asa Newell, Georgia's best player, probably by most people's estimation. And, certainly a major piece of Mike White's game plan, which he's had kind of up and down results against Alabama over his career. At Florida, a little less to speak of at Georgia, obviously. They'll have to stop Asa Newell in order to have any success. And, they're 2 different kinds of players, but, I mean, maybe you do look at what you didn't do against Josh Hubbard. And
definitely a different kind of player. I didn't really realize that. I am connecting some dots here. Didn't Alabama give up Last year, didn't we play Georgia last year? Didn't this little white boy have a great game? Blue Cane. I'm trying to pull up his game log from 20. Let's see, Blue Cane, Alabama. Yeah, right there. Did he have a good game, or was I just making that up? Points right there. Okay, no, I was making that up. He had eight points. 8 points. He was 3 of 7. He was one of 3 from beyond the arc last year.
Must have been a big one. Maybe that's why you remember.
Yeah, must have been. What was it? Okay, he's averaging 7 or 8 points a game, 8 points a game. He's basically one of their main guard shooters, specialty shooter kind of guy. Will, I view this as a maturity test. Another maturity test for this team. And this team has not failed their maturity tests this year, but they haven't aced them either, in my opinion. You talked about it. Opening up with the performances at home. I mean, against Ole Miss, that was an F-, seriously. But C+ against Vanderbilt. Not so bad in some of these. I mean, you won it over at South Carolina. I mean, that was a blowout. So LSU definitely C+ performance at home. These maturity tests where you have teams that could play with you but probably shouldn't. I don't know. I think that tomorrow. What do we think we're going to do tomorrow? I think it's going to be a win. I do. Georgia's averaging 76 points a game. Georgia's like 40 in KenPom, 37 in KenPom. Is that what I saw? 37 in KenPom, 76 in offense, 19 in defense. But really, the tempo, 232 in tempo.
Bama should be able to run.
Just run them out the gym and get us home by the time the Royal Rumble starts. Come on, baby. It's going to be easy.
If I had to guess, I would say this is going to be one of those where Bama delivers that first half knockout punch. They take a 15-point lead or so into the half, and then they coast a little bit for the first 7-8 minutes of the second half. Lock in around the midway point, coast a little bit for that 9 to about 3-minute period, and then they'll lock it in the last few and win by 7, 8, 9, 10 points, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there's never been a game that's been more, I think, primed to play out exactly like he just said.
I agree.
They just love doing that. It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, I guess.
What did you think? Blake Byler pointed this out on Twitter. We appreciate Blake Byler working for On3 Sports. Points out this past Wednesday, the game with Alabama and Mississippi State. Alabama utilizing Mark Sears and Grant Nelson much more often in pick and roll settings. Do you think that was just an adjustment for that game, Mason? Or has Cliff Amore maybe lost that role as the roller? Or is that a stupid assessment from Joe? Like, are we reading? What do we read about that?
I think, definitely last game you saw it being used as like, let's just kind of see what happens here. Let's see how it works. And it worked pretty well. I mean, there was a bunch of really beautiful plays there, really nice feeds down to the bucket to get Grant, around the hoop. I would imagine that you're going to see Cliff get some more chances, not just be completely cast out of that role. I would think he gets another chance to maybe earn it back. But yeah,
he had a really nifty drive and scoop layup. The Cliff though did that was like, huh?
I would think that
and he hit it unlike Murphy.
More of a kind of split between Cliff and Grant again on that.
Will Miller, over or under? Oh, what's the right number for here? Over or under? Do you like 3.5 or 4.5 for Chris Youngblood made threes? I was gonna go over 5.5, but that's too high. 4.5 feels like it might be
over
pushing
3.5.
3.5.
3.5 feels too low, but okay. 3.5. Over or under 3.5 makes by Chris Youngblood tomorrow. Will Miller.
Over.
I think I like the over on that too.
Would you take the over if I said it at 4.5?
Probably.
I would.
Oh,
It feels like a 6 for 12 kind of day, maybe. Hopefully.
Chris Youngblood microwave.
Maybe even better than that. Maybe give me another 7 for 10 night. That'd be sweet.
What happens to this team if Youngblood and Holloway are both just flame throwing with Mark Sears kind of
3-guard
distributing.
starting lineup.
Yes.
I think they should do that anyway. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm just not a X's and O's basketball genius, which I'm not, just candidly. But I think this team has the pace of play, to be able to do it. You look at a guy like Nelson, who has been versatile. And last year when Alabama didn't have a 5, he kind of had to assume some of that. You look at that. You look at a guy like Jaron Stevenson really kind of playing himself out of the starting lineup anyway with how he's been shooting the ball. I mean, now could be the time.
Well, all right. So we need to make some predictions. I think that Youngblood's going to be one to watch. I like your three-guard lineup, Will, but I think the reason that you bring Aiden off the bench is just for that extra juice. The same reason that you bring Modi Abate off the bench. It's like, oh, we're going to surprise your second team. And I just think the depth on this team is so deep that I don't know that we've seen even Coach Oates maybe use it to his advantage, per se, by dictating to the other team. No, I definitely think Nate Oates is absolutely coaching well. I'm not trying to say that. My point is, I don't know. You bring up a 3-guard lineup. What would it look like if Mark, Aiden, and Youngblood were your first 3 with Grant and Cliff 4 and 5? You probably overwhelm them, but you're taking LeBaron out of the starting lineup right there, and you're subbing it for Aiden. Is LeBaron better off the bench, or is Aiden off the bench? It doesn't. I think it's kind of negligible there, but I just wonder. Obviously you got to respect other teams' size, and then Jaron does give you.
Do you, if you can make the perimeter work for you, as this team is, game planned to do? Can you sacrifice some of that? I mean, seems like a possibility.
Yeah, that's what I just wonder about manipulation of the lineup. If Coach Oates has really. If he's saving some of this lineup manipulation for later in the year because, we don't want to show this on film yet. Does that make sense? We don't want to. We don't want teams to prepare for maybe even a 4-guard lineup. Do we even go, Sears, Phylon, Holloway? Like, I think there's some things you can do here that maybe we haven't seen on film quite yet. That I think is intentional as far as, hey, we're saving this for the SEC tournament. We might save this for, a Sweet 16 game that we might need something different, a wrinkle or two.
Fair enough.
So we need to make some
really
predictions.
Feel it's possible
go ahead.
In any configuration to, show the team's depth. I think that's what Nate's been trying to do. You bring a guy like Holloway off the bench and it clicks as well as it has. If you're another team, nobody, even teams with the top budgets, some of them are not as deep as this Alabama team, Indiana. An embarrassment to the sport, but I digress. But a team like that, most teams are not as deep as Alabama, even the ones that are paying the most money, even the ones that are at some of these preeminent, institutions for basketball. I mean, who has 10 players that you could mix and match and run out at a given time?
Not a lot
of teams at all. Let's finish this bad boy up. Mason Woods wrote on BamaCentral.com. I don't think it's quite out yet. It's going to be out in maybe 15, 20 minutes. Recruiting rundown. And, of course, we don't care about the high schoolers that much, but it is a big weekend.
Yeah.
And lots of juniors on campus. Mason, what's a highlight or two that they can find in recruiting rundown?
Yeah, the just some of the bigger names from the 2026 class that are going to be on campus. Guys like Tristan Key, Sincere Johnson, both top 15 players at their positions. Both also recently named Alabama in their top schools. They will both be on campus tomorrow. So look out for maybe those two. Who knows? Maybe one of them commits. I don't know if anything's expected. You never know with these guys.
Coliseum, who knows?
Xavier Crowell, running back, recently announced his decision to reclassify to the 2026 class. Was the top-ranked player from the state in the 27 class. Now is the 6th-ranked player in the state for the 26 class. So not a huge drop-off there for him. Still a really, really talented player. Going to be in town as well this weekend. Also, they are expecting one 2027 prospect, a sophomore, for Junior Day. Don't really know how that works. Don't know if this is like him saying that he's going to be reclassifying at some point. I don't know. But Jabarius Gare from Viger, Alabama, he will be in town. So
I do that all the
pretty
time.
good crop of recruits.
I do that all the time. I can never quite get it right. My mom laughed at me one time.
Vigor.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is Viger, isn't it?
I believe it's
Yes.
Vigor. So yeah, there in total there will be about, I think, 23 people and 23 recruits in town. 22 of them from the 26 class, one of them from the 27.
Exciting. Let's see what you got, Coach DeBoer. Let's see what you got. Bring them all in. Get some commits. We'll see.
A lot of them are in-state players too. So
Oh, that's going to make
it's going to make the fans really
the gump
happy,
glands will be pulsating if you get an in-state commit. You're going to see all the naysayers. Oh, well, he's finally turning it in-state. Yeah. I think people just reach for narratives. And it's like, dude, connect some dots here. Like, they haven't been here in a while. They're just trying to set some roots up. It'll come.
It just takes a little bit. Exciting things this weekend, though, for Bama on the recruiting trail.
Cannot wait. You can check it out at BamaCentral.com. Recruiting rundown each Friday, brought to you by Mason Woods. Follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine for all his great work. Will Miller, are you ready to talk about the actual reason that we're having a show today?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about Nick Saban to the Cowboys. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. Alabama's going to steamroll Georgia tomorrow. We didn't even make number predictions. I'll go. It's a home game. I'll go 125-64. No, I will actually go 102. Yeah, 102, 81. 102-81, Alabama rolls. You want to throw a number out there, or do we even care, Mason Woods?
I'll go 88-72.
88-72, and Will Miller?
All right, I'm going to go 96-71.
Everybody has the tide rolling. And so as you leave Coleman Coliseum, you can get home, turn on your Peacock, and watch the Royal Rumble as it starts 5 o'clock Central Time. So you will probably be starting it 35 minutes later than it is on live, which is A-okay because you're dedicated to the Crimson Tide. Appreciate you doing that. Will Miller and I are major wrestling fans, and so that is how we will close out the show as the road to WrestleMania begins tomorrow. SmackDown tonight will have more tea leaves, but we can only go off the tea leaves that we know so far. There are 4 matches on the card so far scheduled. And I think we will probably only get the 4 because 2 of them will last about 45 minutes to an hour. You got the 30-woman Royal Rumble to get you started off. 2 out of 3 falls for the tag team titles, the SmackDown tag team titles with DIY and Motor City Machine Guns. And then what will probably be a bloody ladder match. I WWE has moved away from blood, but I think that there will be some real blood in a ladder match between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, and then we will close it out with a 30-man Royal Rumble. So Will and I are the massive fans. Mason is a mild fan, watching here and there. So I'll start with Mason. Are you excited? Will you watch it? What's the interest level from, this is a niche interest. We accept that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably tune in for a little bit. I don't see myself watching the entire event, but I might throw it on the other TV, the other monitor, and just kind of see, if it starts to heat up a little bit, maybe I'll turn the sound on, get a little frisky, But I'll definitely tune in just a touch to kind of see what's going on with it. I'm intrigued enough.
Well, the match card will be set up, and this is no disrespect to the ladies, but if you are turning it on a little bit later, maybe the ladies' Royal Rumble will be their match will be finishing up, and then the card will really, really heat up, in my opinion. Will, is there any doubt tomorrow that Charlotte Flair is winning the women's Royal Rumble?
No, and I wish that I could say yes, but no, there's not. I don't really know there's plenty of good decisions that they could make. There's plenty of crappy decisions that they could make. They could decide to prolong Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan some more and have Liv Morgan win it, and that would still be preferable to Charlotte Flair winning it. But like you said, Joe, almost a foregone conclusion.
Okay, and we're seeing one of the themes from the Royal Rumble is surprise returns. I was never really into AJ Lee, but people are going crazy. The wife of CM Punk, this week, Will Miller, about a potential return of AJ Lee.
I don't see it.
What do you think here?
I don't see it.
I don't either. I think she's been such a background character and out of wrestling that I think that's not. I mean, CM Punk goes out and says, "Oh, I think one big return is coming."
Yeah, but
I
he's
can't
just a
spoil
troll,
it.
man. He's a troll. He's
right. Well, he's referring to Charlotte Flair.
Oh, I didn't interpret it that way at all. I thought he was
or
just
Jordan
doing
Grace.
Well, Jordan Grace, we know, is entering the Rumble because she signed her contract. That's who I'd pick.
But she said, "Oh, I'm not in Indianapolis this weekend. I'm doing my mother's 50th birthday." Like, okay, lady.
Maybe Jordan Grace's mom is in the Royal Rumble.
Do what?
Maybe her mom is in the Royal Rumble, and that's the 50th birthday. They get to do a spot together.
Maybe she is. So, will you be like? Are you? I'm just not as. And usually, I don't mind watching the ladies compete. Absolutely, but I'm not into the Women's Royal Rumble this year. I don't really have a whole lot of juice for that. The other three matches, I have a lot of juice for.
The one last year was far better than the men. I mean, it's not even funny how much better it was than the Men's Royal Rumble. I think that in terms of the tag match, that could be something really special, but it could also just be forgotten in 2 days. I think the Motor City Machine Guns are going to win, and that's who I will be rooting for. I think Kevin Owens should beat Cody Rhodes, but Cody's going to win. And then for the Men's Royal Rumble, I see Punk winning it. I really do.
Yeah, before Monday Night Raw, I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. But after the segment and after his little interaction with CM Punk or with Cody Rhodes,
Final Four is going to be McIntyre, Reigns, Rollins, and Punk, I think. And I think Rollins is going to be the Iron Man.
You don't like Cena in place of Rollins for the Final Four?
I think he'll be in the Final 6.
Yeah. John Cena sucks. John Cena really competing for the first time in quite a while this weekend. So if you're into John Cena, all right, my final. I'm going. Yeah, I'm going. Booey. I'm going CM Punk, Roman Reigns, John Cena. I want to say Drew McIntyre because I love him, but do they do Jey Uso just because he's so popular, even though he stinks so bad? The man can't wrestle.
I would not say that
he's got a good gimmick,
man.
He's boring. Other than the entrance,
his promos are okay.
Okay, right. That's fine. Like literally in Atlanta on Monday night, we sat there and yeeted for 8 minutes, and he did nothing but dance on the announce table. And it's like, thanks, guys. And it was fun, but like, what does it translate to in the ring? It doesn't translate at all to me. All right, so I'll go CM Punk because I think Punk will win. Punk, Roman Reigns, Cena. And shoot, my gut says The Rock. I know that's not my gut says The Rock. I'd love it if Randy Orton made it to the Final Four. Will, what's your take on this theory? My theory is as you get to the Final Four, Brock Lesnar is going to come out and aid CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble as his favor.
We do not want Brock Lesnar. I don't even know what his situation is. We do not need Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble.
Not as a participant.
We don't need him there. We don't
need wild card enforcer.
We don't want this.
I want this. I know Brock is like for people who aren't paying attention. Brock Lesnar has some like lawsuit disputes and is kind of involved in the Vince McMahon stuff.
That's enough for
somewhat ancillary. And I know that makes a lot of people really icky.
You look up Brock Lesnar's name and like 14 hours ago, disappointing WWE's news on Brock Lesnar.
That he's not going to be there.
I don't know what it is
I'm
exactly.
sure. I'm sure people because
that's the headline.
No, so I don't think that's happening, but I think that would make me freak out. That would make me really excited. Somehow, some way, CM Punk is cashing in on a Paul. Is Paul Heyman going to get him a chair or something? Something's going to happen. He says, "Oh, it's a favor that Paul doesn't want to do," and they're going to use this to have him win the Royal. I agree with you, Will, that Kevin Owens should be the rightful winner of this ladder match. He should. If I were booking, I would have Kevin Owens beat the ever-living snot out of Kevin. And not because I don't like Cody Rhodes. I do. I like Cody Rhodes. I would have him beat the ever-living snot out of him just to have the story just further on. Just re-put Cody into the title chaser mode, revenge mode, Avenger mode. But in order to do that,
I really liked, Joe. I loved the angle last year that they did with Seth Rollins in the World Heavyweight Championship and the Bloodline, where he was burning the candle at both ends, and it came back to bite him in the backside. And you're kind of seeing Cody Rhodes still involved in the Bloodline, teaming with Roman Reigns at Bad Blood, which started all this, and he's coming out to console Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event. And he's run afoul of so many different people as he's been champion, and he's just not willing to completely it's like the Gucci backpack meme. He's just not totally willing to let it all go from behind him, and potentially Kevin Owens could come in and take it all away from him. And I really would like that story direction.
Does Triple H have enough guts to do that on Sunday?
No. The only way I would suggest he might is because it's a Big Four show, but I don't think he's going to do it.
That's so sad because I think Cody's such a strong character that he doesn't need the title.
We need Homelander Cody, Joe. We do. We need him. We need to set him towards the path of heel turning.
Did you ever watch The Boys?
NJPW and ROH heel Cody was his best work. I'm telling you, it was. And if you haven't seen
I saw a meme this week.
You've probably seen the Twitter video where he gives the one wrestler $45 and says it was $25 more.
And 20 more than you're worth. Yes.
Yeah.
20 more than they were going to pay you tonight.
Yeah. Here's $45. It's $25 more than they were going to pay you. Oh, man. We need Homelander.
On Saturday, I'll be locked and loaded on the couch watching the Royal Rumble. I'm excited. I'm picking CM Punk, just like my man Will Miller. I'm picking Charlotte Flair. Oh, I am picking Motor City Machine Guns like you, but I would like DIY to win that. And I'm picking Cody Rhodes with you, but I think it makes a lot of sense to have Kevin Owens walk out of there with that Winged Eagle title and Cody Rhodes really upset. That would make me a lot. That would be a great card to me. Randy Orton throws about 4 or 5 RKOs in the Royal Rumble.
That's what I like to see. I just want to see an RKO.
So that'll be late. He'll be there. Okay.
I just got to hear, watch out.
Last thing for us on this topic, Will, we've got 15 official entrants in the men's Royal Rumble. I'm looking at them here: Roman Reigns, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, LA Knight.
Yeah.
LA Knight. Oh, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Logan Paul, Penta, Rey Mysterio, Chad Gable, Braun Breaker, and Carmelo Hayes. So there's 15. I threw out The Rock and Brock Lesnar. I don't think Brock Lesnar will be participating. I think The Rock has about a 10% chance to participate. Who would be your biggest surprise? I think you're going to see these two people, and it's who I want to see. I think you're going to see Dolph Ziggler / Nick Nemeth over from the TNA partnership. You're going to see somebody, and I don't think it's going to be Jeff Hardy. I'd lose my ever-loving crap if it was Jeff Hardy. I don't think they're going to bring him back. I think you're going to see Dolph Ziggler, and I think you're going to see Trick Williams as two of the surprise entrants in the men's Royal Rumble match. And Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is a toss-up to me. I believe in Joe Hendry. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. If Jeff Hardy comes out, that place will explode. But I don't know if they trust him enough to do it anymore. All right, Mason, any closing thoughts on the wrestling or on the basketball on Junior Day?
I'm glad to hear Rey Mysterio is still kicking around.
Dude, he's getting laid.
Stem cell, it's a miracle, dude.
Love him.
How old is he? He's getting
He's like
lasers on his
53, I
knees.
think.
He was my favorite wrestler when I was a kid. He was awesome. The 619, like the most legendary move to me.
The man is 50. He'll be turning
Is he
51 in
I thought he
December.
was older than that. Ray is, yeah, he's 50.
Oh shit! He shares a birthday with my original ex-girlfriend.
One of the greatest athletes of this of the last 25
Ray
30
Mysterio
years.
or his
We'll
ex-girlfriend?
Rey Mysterio. No disrespect to her, but I don't have them in that same category.
Rey Mysterio was awesome.
Let's close it out for the day. We will be back on Monday breaking down Alabama basketball. We won't talk about the wrestling too much because that's not what this show is about. That's why we saved it towards the end for you guys. We'll talk about Alabama basketball if they defeat the Crimson, if they defeat Georgia, and we'll talk about really whatever else happens over the weekend. It's going to be a wild weekend. It is wild. It's not wild card to be. It's Pro Bowl weekend. So if you're into the football, maybe you watched some of the skills competition yesterday. I did not, and I will not be watching the flag football competition on Sunday. Who cares? But maybe you will. So we might talk about that. We'll see what Alabama, if there's any Alabama players that stand out in the Pro Bowl. Follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. Follow Will Miller at Real WB Miller on the Twitter machine. I am at Joe Gaither 6. We are Bama Central. We'll be in Coleman Coliseum tomorrow, and we hope to see you there. We'll talk to you again on Monday on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.